If you receive restricted stock units as part of your compensation, you need to watch this video until the very end. It could potentially save you hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. Today we'll be testing 4 different kinds of RSU plans. Our guinea pig for this experiment, an Apple employee. Our plan of action, we're going to plug in 10 years of real-world data, then we're going to look at the outcomes and draw some conclusions and gain insights. Before we kick it off, I have a small favor to ask. If you learn anything in this video, please give us a like. That'll help us spread the word so we can help more people get the most out of their RSUs. There's also a link below if you'd like to talk to us directly. We would love to hear from you. All right, let's get started. Here are the 4 types of RSU plans we'll evaluate today. Plan 1, do nothing. Plan 2, optimize for taxes, only taxes. Plan 3, optimize for taxes and reduce concentration risk by diversifying conservatively. Plan 4, reduce taxes, reduce concentration risk, and diversify while seeking higher returns. Meet Ajit. He's married, has 2 kids, lives in Cupertino, and you guessed it, he works for Apple. When he was hired in 2015, his initial RSU grant was valued at $250,000. In year 5, he was promoted and received another RSU grant, this time valued at $400,000. And then finally in 2023 and 2024, he received equity refreshers of $100,000 per year. So altogether, he received RSUs over 10 years, initially valued at $850,000. And meanwhile, Apple stock has been doing very well. In RSU Plan 1, Ajit makes all the financial decisions without any outside assistance. But there are some issues. One of them is concentration risk. Ajit has a lot of money riding in one company, the same company that pays his salary, and things could end badly. It would be so easy to mitigate this risk. Another issue that's starting to bother Ajit is the capital gains tax he'll have to pay when he finally gets around to selling his Apple shares. In fact, he's feeling a little bit like a hostage to his RSUs. Wouldn't it be great if there were a way to deal with this capital gain tax? To facilitate a comparison of our RSU plans, let's measure the after-tax value. That amounts to $2.4 million. Not too shabby. However, let's see if Ajit could do better. In RSU Plan number 2, Ajit makes a few adjustments. First, when his RSUs vest, he immediately sells his Apple shares. At TechView Wealth, we encourage our clients to sell company stock when RSUs vest because there's really no tax consequence that's inherent to doing so. Second, Ajit begins maxing out his retirement accounts. Why? Because this is a great way to lower your overall lifetime tax burden. How does he go about it? Well, when his RSUs vest, he sells the Apple stock and he funds some of his living expenses with the cash proceeds. This frees up the same amount in his salary, which he's now able to use to fund a mega backdoor Roth in his 401k. He also begins funding a backdoor Roth for himself and his wife. And at TechView Wealth Advisors, we like to fund even Roth accounts for kids. So Ajit begins funding Roth accounts for his 2 children. They each make $250 a month, which equates to $3,000 a year. And last but not least, Ajit begins funding an HSA, health savings account, for the entire family. In Plan 1, Ajit was funding his 401k only up to the elective deferral so that he could get the full company match. However, now he's funding beyond that point with after-tax dollars in Roth accounts both in and outside of his 401k. This potentially allows him to avoid paying taxes on the amounts in these accounts forever, protecting them from the IRS. Let's look at 2015. In that year, Ajit received Apple shares from his vesting RSUs worth $53,585 after withholding. In RSU Plan number 1, if these funds were to create investment earnings, they would be taxed as capital gains. However, in RSU Plan number 2, 92% of these funds made their way to Roth or Roth-like retirement accounts, which protect their investment earnings from capital gain tax. Over 10 years, Ajit was able to contribute 35% of the value of his vesting RSUs into retirement accounts. Why just 35%? That was because Apple stock was appreciating significantly over the RSU vesting period. Ajit simply couldn't place all of that capital in retirement accounts. He was truly maxing them out. But even so, with just 35% of the funds making their way into retirement accounts, how much better off is Ajit because of this tax optimization strategy? Well, to answer that, we're going to assume that he continues to invest only in Apple shares. Of course, I would never recommend a client maintain such a huge concentrated position in one company, but at least now we can understand how much money was created by tax efficiency alone. Plan 2 generated $3.1 million after tax. That's $684,000 or 29% more than Plan 1. Not bad at all. In Plan 3, Ajit decides that he wants his RSU plan to do a little bit more than lower his taxes. He also wants to cut his concentration risk and potentially boost his investment returns. So he decides to follow the advice of Warren Buffett for the average investor, and he invests in an index fund. Just as with Plan 2, he sells his Apple shares when his RSUs vest. Then he funds his living expenses with those funds. That frees up his salary, which he uses then to maximize contributions to retirement accounts across his household, and any extra money is deposited into a taxable account. In following Warren Buffett's advice, Ajit selects the popular SPDR S&P 500 ETF. So, how did he do with Plan 3? Well, there's good news and bad news. First, he was able to lower his overall tax burden. He was able to cut his concentration risk. However, his investments didn't do anywhere near as well as Apple stock over this 10-year period. At TechView Wealth, unlike your average advisor, we like to invest in stealth monopolies that dominate global markets. There are approximately 10 such companies, and they usually outperform the market. We keep up-to-date models on all of these companies, but let's get back to Ajit. In Plan 4, Ajit decides he wants to improve upon Plan 3 by investing in stealth monopolies. After some reflection, he decides to invest in an equally weighted portfolio of the Magnificent Seven. Let's fast forward to the results. After 10 years of this strategy, we find that Ajit has successfully lowered his taxes, cut his concentration risk, and boosted his investment returns. In Plan 4, Ajit's RSUs, which were worth $850,000 when granted, and then $1.3 million when they vested, have grown in investment value to $4.9 million after taxes. That's more than double the outcome of Plan 1. Of course, NVIDIA was an outlier in this portfolio, so let's imagine that Ajit missed out on this name and invested in the Magnificent 6 instead of the Magnificent 7. In that case, after 10 years, his portfolio would be worth $3.4 million after taxes. Still a superb result. So let's go to our RSU scoreboard. In Plan 1, Ajit had a strategy of doing nothing. That is, whenever his RSUs vested and he received Apple shares, he just continued to hold them. This approach led to a lot of unnecessary taxes, a huge amount of concentration risk, and underfunded retirement accounts. However, Apple's stock did extremely well over this 10-year holding period, so lucky for Ajit, he received a very good return on his investment. In Plan 2, Ajit develops the habit of selling Apple shares whenever his RSUs vest so that he can more easily maximize contributions to retirement accounts across his household. This allows him to lower his tax burden, but he continues to buy Apple shares, so concentration risk is still a serious issue. Interestingly, we see that Plan 2 increases Ajit's investment return by 29% over Plan 1. This is on account of tax optimization alone. In Plan 3, Ajit begins investing his proceeds from RSUs in an index fund. He manages to lower his taxes, max out his retirement contributions, and lower his concentration risk too. Unfortunately, his investment returns were nowhere near that of Apple stock, so this was a bit of a disappointment. In Plan 4, Ajit makes one more adjustment, deciding to invest in an equally weighted portfolio of stealth monopolies. This plan did well across the board. As we can see, Plan 4 got a top score in every category and delivered the best investment return to boot. The moral of the story? Don't waste the potential of your RSUs. A well-designed RSU plan has many benefits. At a minimum, lowering your taxes, cutting your concentration risk, and potentially boosting your investment returns. If you learned something today from this video, please hit the like button. That will help spread the word so we can help other people get the most out of their RSUs. And if you need any assistance, feel free to set up a meeting with me. Here are my contact details. I look forward to hearing from you.